Yerrr Klk.
What's up?
What's going
Hey,
on, ladies?
What is up?
We back again. This is Tim. I brought my friends Francheska and Ashlyn.
hey.
So these ladies are some friends that I've known for quite a while. We all kind of went to school around the same time, whether it's high school or college. And right now they're, in their field of medicine, which is crazy because you guys are just getting in there. And obviously, we're in the middle of a pandemic. So I wanted to bring you two together to obviously, meet each other and then just touch base on what's going on. So if either of you want to kind of like introduce yourself and just, give a little background of, maybe school or what you're doing now, that'd be great. Whichever one of you wants to go first.
I could start.
Okay.
So hi guys, my name's Ashlyn. I currently work as a medical technologist, but I do less lab work now and more data analytics with it, if that makes any sense. But yeah, so it's a different aspect, I guess, of the medical field. I have my bachelor's degree from Penn State in biological sciences. So we out here. And then I also
Nice.
have my minor in women's studies. So big contrast there. But yeah, that's about it. And I'm Dominican. So yeah.
Shout out.
Hey.
Okay. Yeah, that's it.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
So my name's Francesca. I went to Syracuse. I got my bachelor's. Originally, I wanted to become a speech therapist at the time. So I did study communication disorders, but I ended up having a change in gears like my junior year, and I decided I wanted to do nursing. But Syracuse didn't have nursing. So I finished my bachelor's and applied to Columbia. I got my master's and I became a nurse, and I just became a nurse practitioner last year, and I just got my doctorate in nursing. So I'm done with school for the rest of my life. But yeah, so right now I currently work as a pediatric nurse practitioner. I'm in like a weird job transition right now. I started off in a private office. I just left that job. I'm right now working at a COVID testing site. And then from there, I'm going to kind of do COVID testing and also be working in a school based health, which, who knows how that's going to go.
Yeah,
Mm.
right.
So, yeah.
Out of the frying pan into the fire. That's really what it's been like, since like what,
Mm-hmm.
March now that they locked us down and everything.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. I mean, for me personally, I'm obviously not in the medical field, but just having to be home and I'm in the sports field. I'm a sports management major from William Patterson here in Jersey, and we shut down. Like there was nothing going on. We got a little bit
Mm-hmm.
of glimpse of hope with like the bubble, the NBA bubble, some sports coming back, but with all the civil unrest, not just the pandemic stuff, it's looking real dark. And
Right.
even like looking online and stuff to reapply to other jobs and stuff like that, it's you literally see the disclaimers of saying like it's dependent on when we can open, because it's all
Mm-hmm.
varying state to state.
Right.
So obviously we're all in a pickle, so to speak. But how have you guys felt about the pandemic being so early in your careers? Like how did that affect you once it hit?
I think for me, people always think like, oh, you work in the medical field, you're good. But I actually was collecting partial unemployment at one point because, it's a private office. People didn't want to bring their kids in to have a visit for what? I'm putting my kid at risk for COVID, right? So patients were canceling. I went from working every day to working half days. I had to use vacation time. Then I was working every, 5 half days to one half day a week. And so I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. So I literally was like jobless, collecting partial unemployment for about a month or so. And then that's when I was called for the COVID site.
Yeah, so I had probably the a similar experience. So my I work for a private lab and we're not used to testing for COVID. I don't think anybody
Mm,
would have been prepared
yeah.
for a brand new virus. So basically at first it was just like a lot of confusion. So we took a pay cut because they didn't want to furlough anyone. So we took a pay cut of like 30%. And I had I guess I had hope that it wouldn't last that long, so I didn't get to apply for unemployment. But now looking back at it, I probably should have. But we good. But then it was just like the rush, like who's gonna so I mean, at that time, Jersey and New York was hit really bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there was this rush within private labs and public labs in Jersey just to like get a test and then get it like approved through like the state of Jersey and New York so we could test as many people as possible, kind of like the gold rush, but like literally with testing. So luckily one of like my lab that I work for was one of like the first few labs that got approved for like COVID testing. So literally from that moment on, it was just crazy. Like we were just getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of like different like clients and like different areas just receiving constant like COVID tests. Like it got to a point where we basically stopped doing everything else that we do and just did COVID testing. I mean, it's like evened out now, especially now since like, everything isn't as crazy,
Yeah.
but at first it was really overwhelming. So I guess that switch from not knowing that I was essential became extremely apparent in that time.
Yeah.
Yo, that's huge. Like that whole finding out you're an essential worker. Like
Yeah.
that's
The
it's like,
list
oh
was
shit, they need
long.
me.
Right.
Oh, they need
Yeah.
me. I need to show up. That's crazy. But shout out to New York and New Jersey because that's Franny, you still in the Bronx, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're representing right now, and we started off real hot, but now it's looking like
Yeah.
we're like one of the clean spot. I wouldn't say clean spots because we got like still thousands of cases and stuff
Mm-hmm.
coming through. But shout out to that turnaround. It's looking
Right.
like we're helping people at least stay safer.
Right.
I'm not sure how factual anything is. I don't think anybody knows how
Yeah,
like
it's a
how
big unknown.
yeah, right.
Right.
It's like we don't know how precise any of that stuff is. We know the testing is good, but we don't know if we can catch it again. I heard some like, and then with all the news stuff, they're saying that it's possible that you can catch it again now or something like that. And then the antibody testing. I personally
Mm-hmm.
have no idea about any of this stuff. So, but how do you guys feel like your respective states have handled it? Like as far as the initial reaction to now where we are right now.
So, I guess on our behalf, speaking for Jersey, I feel like shout out to New York because I feel like Murphy was not putting his foot down. I feel like the way that he could have
Mm-hmm.
at first, and I feel like he was kind of following the footsteps, like, let's see what New York does and we'll follow them. So luckily, I think Cuomo was able to get shit done. And I feel like with that being said, like that was able to reflect on like Jersey and like Connecticut and like the surrounding areas. And not only that, New York was like basically the epicenter of like this
Yeah.
outbreak from the beginning. So although I feel like there's definitely a lot of things that could have been done earlier and it wouldn't have been as bad, but at least shit was done. Like where we
Mm-hmm.
New York has not seen like the uptick in like cases like all these other states are seeing, like basically
Mm-hmm.
like second waves of like outbreaks. Like I don't think that we've seen that yet. So I mean, as for Jersey, I think we're doing okay. Do I think we could have done better? Definitely, but I think we're all right for now. For
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I think Cuomo did a really good job in New York. Like, when you look at the numbers, like going from there were like thousands of people admitted into the hospital. We needed a
Right.
whole ship brought to have extra beds. Like, and now literally, I think we had our lowest numbers of, I think the infection rate a couple of days ago was like 0.6% or something. Like it's been below 1% the whole time, which is really good. And they're good about the testing sites. Like there is testing sites in every single borough. They like gathered a whole bunch of like nurse practitioners, nurses, registration people, and just put them all throughout, like under the New York City hospitals. So they're really targeting a lot of places. And they're looking where there's upticks. If there's like a slight uptick, they'll put more testing centers in that neighborhood to kind of just get the numbers right. They've also put out, so my site was kind of slow in the beginning when we first opened because no one really knew that we were there. And then they started doing rapid testing. So what they did was apparently there's only like 14 machines in the whole state, and they gave us like 8 at the time and then only had 4, but the test gives you a result in 15 minutes. So
Wow.
people were lining up, like we would have like over 150 people lining up to get tested because either they needed it for work, or a lot of people started traveling, so they needed it for travel, things like that. The only thing with the rapid testing, it's not 100% accurate. So we would have to swab people twice so that the rapid, you'll get your result. But if you're positive, you're positive. But if you're negative, there's like a chance it might be positive. So we'll send the second swab to a lab.
Yeah.
But now they moved it, I think, to Brooklyn, and then they're going to come back to the Bronx again. So they try to target like neighborhoods where they think, you know, need it the most. And then they're going to just, I guess, measure the sensitivity and specificity of the test and see if it's good. And then, I don't know, build more machines or whatever. But I think they did a good job. I don't know how it's going to look for the fall. I don't know, with this outdoor schooling and stuff, who knows? But I think for the most part, we're in an okay place.
Right.
Yes. So for me personally, my mom is a nurse assistant here in Perth Amboy. So I got to see it like, maybe, what would you say, third hand maybe? Because it's not even like second hand. I'm not there. But from the time that they started admitting people, she would just come home drained every day. She would tell me about how many cases would come in, and she would be like, it's hundreds. Like, they had to shut down certain floors, floors that had nothing to do with like medical, like as far as testing or anything like that. Like, it would be like I think they had to move the whole ICU unit, everything. They had to rearrange the whole hospital just to be able to take in that influx of people. And you know, you already in the hospital, you already have people who are already there, and they're kind of like just admitted, and you know, they had to make sure that those people were safe and never caught anything. She said even some of those people who were admitted and had no contact with people started popping up positive. So she was just like so scared of everything, and she was so worried. And then as things started calming down, I want to say around May or June a little bit, once it got hotter out, she said she would tell me, all right, there was only 3 people. There was only 1 person. There's nobody new. We actually let a couple people go. So like that was kind of a relief. But then she hasn't been at work the past week, but she was telling me that she started getting more people to come in after getting tested that were positive, and then like they would get the antibody test, and she was like, she was so scared that the doctors are saying that there's gonna be a whole second wave and all of that, and that shit is mind blowing to me, because it's like we already had so much time to kind of get ahead of it, but at the same time, you know, in the same fashion that we had so much positive reaction, we had a lot of people who were just like negligent of it, completely negligent and kind of ignorant to the fact that we were in the middle of a pandemic, and they were just going out. Like my favorite quote was like, in the middle of a pandemic. Every time I would see somebody out on like Instagram, I'm just like, in the middle of a pandemic, you really need to be smoking hookah? Like, that's so crazy.
Crazy.
Like I don't understand
Even
that.
traveling, I mean, like, to each his own, but I'm just like, you're going somewhere where these places have limited resources. And, you know, like, I think being on a plane is super high risk. Like, whether or not the air is exchanged, you're still sitting somewhere for a certain period of time. And, you know, the droplets are small. It's just a lot to think about. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and you don't know if the person next to you got tested. All you know is like the temperature, because they've been doing the temperature guns. But yeah, I barely. So since we got quarantined in March, I barely went out at all up till like June, where I started actually going out. Besides like the obvious like Walmart runs or something like that to get stuff that I needed, or like maybe food or something like that. I was home. I didn't even see friends. I didn't see my girlfriend. I didn't see anybody. Like it until summer hit. I didn't do anything. I was even supposed to go to Florida for about 2 weeks, and I canceled that because my brother down there had gotten heart surgery when he was 13, so he's already at risk. So I didn't even want to take the chance, because I knew I was clean and I was like, you know, I was home. I wasn't having contact with anybody, but I didn't want to take the chance of just getting on the plane and bringing it or catching it. Even
Yeah.
if I didn't get it there, maybe on the way back, like it was just too many variables to even think about it. I just now went to see my cousin in New York, and that's the first time that I've like left the state and got like what's it's that's like 6 months. And there's been people right now on vacation and stuff. I mean, and like you said, to each their own, but couldn't be me, man. That's
Nope.
couldn't be me.
It
That's it's
ain't
too
So
gonna be
risky.
me.
It's just too
Nope.
so
risky.
I can speak on that because I kind of was like, yo, fuck this. I'm gonna just go somewhere. So me and my boyfriend, we've been dating for like 5 years and like we do long distance, which really sucks.
Mm,
So he lives down in North Carolina, which is like a hotspot state. So what we usually do is like every month, either he'll come here or I'll go over there. But given COVID and given that I'm like kind of high risk, I'm like I didn't want to travel. But then it got to a point where I'm like, I'm over it. I have to go. It's been 6 months. Like I have not seen my man. This is crazy. So I literally booked a flight and I went, but I was freaking out the entire time, like
yeah. Oh my God.
panicking. And then I guess through that experience, like I saw like the big difference in like how things are being handled here and how things are being handled there. Like once we got there, like everything that we did consisted of like either outdoor dining or like we stayed in an Airbnb, which I was like freaked out about, but like there was nobody there. It was just like a house, but still, it was just like a lot of like panicking. Even before I'm like, well, I'm gonna get tested before I go. I'm gonna get tested when I come back,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna get tested like again. And luckily, I'm fine. I hope. I think. but but
Nah, knock
like
on wood. Knock on wood. You good?
no, right. But I feel like I guess like if you're gonna travel, I think I did it the right way. But it
Mm,
was still like a lot. Like it was just a
yeah.
lot. Like even like well one, like getting through security, they did not take my temperature. That's one. Two, when you get to the airport, like I'm crazy. I'm like a COVID Nazi. Like if like my friends like are over me. But I literally had like two masks on and like a face shield. But like there was people at the airport without any face coverings, just like eating because there's no mandate for masks in
Yeah.
airports, which I did not know.
That's crazy.
There's no mandates for like maybe I'm speaking like wrongly, but I saw plenty of people without masks at the airport, like when they're in their seats, not like when they're trapped, like moving around, but still, like that's a
Yeah.
lot. On the airplane, like masks are like mandated, but unless you're eating or drinking, which doesn't make any sense to me, even though they're not serving anything. But if I wanted to pull open, let's say some snacks, like I could just take off my mask, which doesn't make any sense to me as well. And then North Carolina was like a whole different ball field. I was like, this too much. Like this too much. Like me and my boyfriend went like bike riding and there was like people and like congregating in like lines to get into bars and stuff because everything is pretty much
That's
open.
crazy.
I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like people I mean it seems like people are wearing masks and stuff, I guess, now because my boyfriend told me at the beginning that it like they weren't,
Mm,
but like it's still like a lot. Like bars and stuff and everything is still open. So it's like it seemed normal. Like life just seemed normal there. Like which is such a big difference in contrast to like here. I just
mhm.
feel like even though now it seems like there's some sense of normalcy because I don't know if it's either because we have gotten used to like this lifestyle or just because like outdoor dining and like people going to the beach and stuff like that doing more outdoor things, so maybe it seems a little bit more normal, but like there was like different. I was like, this is like pre-COVID normal. This is not the normal that like
Yeah.
I like. Yeah, so it was crazy. I don't know if I would do it again anytime soon, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of things to like think about, especially like I don't know, I don't live alone. So that was like a big thing. Like I think it's one thing for me to be selfish for myself, but for me to be selfish and not like have this conversation with the people that you live with is
Mhm.
also a big thing. But yeah, it was crazy. 0 out of 10. Don't recommend.
Yeah, so I think that the psychological part of it is huge. Like I think I would do the same thing if I had to go somewhere. Get tested before you go, get tested when you get there, get tested when you come back. wear a
Yeah.
bunch of masks, make sure you have hella sanitizer, just
Yeah.
as much as you can, and it's funny because the first couple times I went out and I had my mask on, I felt like I was robbing somebody. I was like, what the hell? Why am I wearing this mask? But then you start seeing everybody else with it. It's like, oh, okay, this is just
Mhm.
what we're doing. And then,
Right.
now you see somebody without a mask and you judging them. You're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
You being dirty for? Put your mask on.
I was
People take
judging.
selfies on their like some of my friends they'll put like a selfie on their story and it'll be like without the mask and they'll be like no one was near me. I had my mask in my hand. It's in my purse. Or they'll take pictures with their friends and they're like we had masks on before this picture. I'm like, "Dang, you really have to like explain yourself. If you cough, you have to explain yourself." The allergy season is bad. My allergies have been on 1,000, and
Yes.
I feel like every time I clear my throat, I have to like look around, make sure no one's judging me. Like
Girl.
this thing is crazy. Like, but it also makes you think about stuff we should have been doing, right? Like
In
the
the
MTA
beginning.
trains should have been cleaned a long time ago, deep cleaning. We should get hand sanitizer at a restaurant. Like it's like little things that should have already been instilled. But I mean, I guess there's like good and bad that comes from it.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's literally it goes back to regular hygiene. Like
Yeah.
everything that we're using to kind of like protect ourselves is stuff that everybody should have been doing. It's like
Right.
Mm-hmm.
wash your hands, don't sneeze on people, don't be touching random things without washing your hands after or using sanitizer. Don't touch your
Right.
hands and face and ear. Like it's a bunch of basic stuff that could have saved us, but everybody has their opinion,
Yeah.
and especially here there's 50 states with 50 different governors, and it's just like
That's the
everybody,
problem.
right?
Right.
We're like 50 different countries in a
Seriously.
little, like, in my opinion, because I'm like, you look at these other places, they completely shut down and things were okay.
Right.
People, look, you saw that picture in Wuhan, China,
Yeah. Yeah,
the
they
pool
were out here
party.
They were
partying.
chilling.
There's like, yeah, we started it, but we good. Like,
That
Yeah,
could be
what?
us.
What? Couldn't
that's
be us. We still
crazy.
struggling. Like, we literally, it's about to be, school is starting. And we got a bunch of kids and a bunch of parents who don't know what to do with themselves. Like,
Hmm.
you
Mhm.
got, you don't, there's not even indoor dining and you got your kids in school, and then
Yeah,
on top of that, that's like the epicenter for most sicknesses. Like every time there's a flu that goes around, stomach virus, any of that, it
school.
starts at a school and it comes to your homes. Like it's literally been what's happened throughout my whole life. Like as soon
Mhm.
as one of my siblings gets sick, it's like, all right, well, now just take your vitamins or something because you're probably gonna catch it. And now
Yeah,
now we got something that's like super dangerous, and you're still sending everybody back to school. So I'm baffled by how we're handling this period
yeah.
because we could have had an action plan. We had 3 months to figure out the whole school thing,
Mm.
but nobody knows when shit just hits the fan like it did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been actually like telling my friends like about this like a lot. So a lot of the people I guess in my friend group, I mean not necessarily that everyone works in like medicine, but we all kind of work in like intertwined careers, if that makes sense. So one of my good friends is like a teacher, and she works in the Bronx, and the Bronx is a very congested place, a very very
Mm.
congested place. And her school had rolled out, they start school I think next week or in 2 weeks, and they had rolled out, well they had a plan, well they have a plan, and it consisted of hybrid learning. And she's
Mhm.
like, Ash, like, well, she's 25 years old, she's like, I'm scared for like my life, like just being the idea of being in a room with all these kids in an already congested like area in an already overpopulated school, like I
Mhm.
just don't see how that's going to like go well. And I think it's one thing that I feel like we haven't like, even though, some places are returning to, I guess, this new normalcy, we haven't done anything to stop the pandemic. Like zero, like
Yeah.
nothing. Like, yeah, we have more testing, which is great because we're able to realize, figure out who's sick and who's not, or who can spread it and who can't. But we've done zero to stop like the pandemic. Like luckily, it's the summertime, so we're able to distance ourselves better. And, people have been staying home, so hopefully for the most part. And, things are still shut down, but there's literally zero cure. Like, there's nothing. So this is bound to come back when other sicknesses like the flu and cold season and all this stuff like upticks again. So it's just really scary. She made a point that I guess I never thought about for whatever reason. And she's like, how am I gonna know when I'm in school and a kid, let's say, gets the flu or has a cold and whatever he comes in, how am I gonna know that he doesn't have COVID and he just has like the flu or the cold or something like that? Like, how are you gonna be able to differentiate that? And then do I now have to quarantine if I come in contact with someone who has the flu because we don't have rapid testing or stuff
Yeah.
like that? So it's just like a big question mark. Like, how is that going to work? How can you realistically send kids back to school without an actual plan? Like, I just feel like it's not feasible.
Yeah,
Maybe.
like, are you gonna pay those people to quarantine for 14 days, and then if they get it again?
And she explained to me, at least in their plan, where the kids aren't rotating classes, but the teachers are. So she's like, let's say I'm in a room with a kid that has COVID, and then now I go to another room. So do all those kids have to quarantine, and then myself, and then those kids have to quarantine?
Yeah, that's
Like,
crazy.
it's just, I just don't see the purpose of it. Yeah, it's crazy. And I'm not maybe like an a more, I guess, advanced medical professional like you, but but like I just as a citizen just thinking about it, like
Yeah.
it's insane. Like, I cannot think of a way where this would work unless we're putting kids in a bubble like the NBA.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way.
And
That
it's hard because when it comes to remote learning, there's a lot of like people who have to physically go to work. So how can
Right.
they help their kid? Like, and then it's kind of, it's a whole systemic thing. Like, there
Yes.
needs to be like people getting paid monthly, just to have enough money because they're not working and they're home teaching their kids. Like, it's crazy.
It's a lot of things that I guess we didn't realize connect, like school being the biggest babysitter, basically. Like,
Hmm.
we don't think about that. Or how a lot of parents, like Hispanics and Blacks, not can't work from home. They have to be
Some
out
people
there.
don't have Wi-Fi.
yeah.
Wi-Fi.
I
Or
just saw a picture of these two little kids like by like a cafe or something because they're getting the Wi-Fi from like the restaurant or
Yeah.
whatever.
right, right.
That's crazy.
And then on top of this all, we have hurricanes and stuff. So
Yo.
it's just a mess. Like, there's just so many different like barriers. I had tweeted
Hmm.
yesterday that given the storm yesterday that environmental racism was going to start, we were going to see it pan out, but like all these different types of institutionalized like bias, prejudice, racism, and like we're seeing that now with this pandemic. I think even more so because we're seeing like how limited, or I guess like, yeah, so how limited our resources have been, or like how much thought or little thought has been put into like all these situations and how they are intertwined and affect each other. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. It's like all of the low income areas and mostly minority populated areas are the ones that you're saying are like have to send their kids to outside a cafe because they can't even go inside the cafe to get Wi-Fi, and then we have those same parents who are probably all essential workers that cannot work from home. Like, it's just not possible for them to work from home. So now if you have kids who are under the age of like 10, because I feel like if you're 10 years old and older, maybe you can stay home, or if you have somebody to like, watch you. But if you have kids under that age, it's like, what do you do? How do you handle that? And that's something that I feel like was supposed to be the school's responsibility. Like, I feel like there's a lot of plans that the school could have came up with to maybe have a setup where you already knew in March when you send all your students home that you have another year coming up. Like, maybe you have it set up where you stagger your students coming in from semester to semester or quarter to quarter, where it's like you survey those parents who can't afford to have their kids miss that first semester, because they don't know what to do with childcare or anything like that. and maybe you have them come in first, and then the next semester, then you have them, go back home and stuff, giving those parents ample time to figure out a strategy to at least, cope with it. But it seemed like schools, I mean, I'm speaking from the experience of working in a school previously, and my girlfriend is also a teacher, and she's kind of like giving me like the steps of what her school has been doing. Like right now, they're doing all remote for the first like 2 to 3 weeks, and then they're gonna go in and do like a rotating schedule. But at the same time, that, like you said, that does nothing, because at the end of the day, you don't know where these kids have been all summer. You don't
Mm-hmm.
know if they come in, with the flu, or a head cold, and you don't know if that's COVID or not. You can't necessarily force them to get tested. There's so many like restrictions and barriers that it's literally putting the teachers at risk without, you know, any plan to compensate them. Like Franny was saying, like what happens if you get sick? Does that count as, paid time off? Do you get any type of benefits? Do you still have to teach when you're quarantined, even if you're not showing all these
Sick.
symptoms badly? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's so many questions that could have been at least discussed and planned for in these past months, that I feel like they just came in the last couple weeks and were just like, you know what, let's just try to do something, So it's very weird to see happen, and
Mhm.
I don't feel too optimistic about it, but we're just gonna have to go through it, I guess.
In New York, they want to do outdoor learning in the city,
It's gonna
but
get
it's like, what's
cold.
going to happen when it's winter?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, or some schools don't even have a yard. So where are you putting these kids? Or what if the school's in a bad neighborhood?
Yeah, have the kids
It's
right on
just
the block.
crazy.
Like what?
Right.
That's
And a
and
lot of
then
these schools,
go
oh,
ahead.
well,
No, no, go ahead.
a lot of these schools are scrambling to come up with ideas. Because
Mm-hmm.
even the school district here in Amway, my mom, she works two part-time. So she works kind of like as a teaching assistant, and then she also works at a daycare. So she does a little bit of both. And I mean, through her, I've seen like how the system is like not going to work. And to
Oh,
load
hold
basically.
on. Can you repeat that? You kind of cut off.
It's because it's raining. I heard the thunder. I'm like, oh my god. But no, yeah. So as of like last week, they pretty much furloughed anyone that's not like a teacher or a counselor, and they're gonna do remote learning. But this all comes of a week and a half before school starts. So like, I feel like that's not enough time to give like, especially like people within our community, mostly working class, um people or citizens, the time to figure out what the hell they're gonna do for the next like
Mm-hmm.
3 4 6 months. So it's a mess. I don't know, I can't.
Crazy.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think the most concerning part to me is that it's coming from the top down. Like, what were these boards, like the Board of Education? What were they doing? Like, you
All
you knew,
summer.
yeah, you knew all this stuff was coming, but you're gonna want us to go vote for you when election comes. You're gonna get real pretty for those pictures, right? Like, I don't know. It makes me question the leadership, but that's neither here nor there, and that's a whole nother podcast we could get into.
Yeah.
Definitely, definitely.
But I mean, with all things said, when do you think that like things will start getting better? Like, when do you think you'll feel safe to actually go out, participate, or that like you can go out without a mask or something like that?
I think a mask is going to be used for a long time. Even if COVID magically disappears, I think people are going to still use the mask. I can't even picture myself in a bar. Like, it's
Hmm.
like weird, but I think, I don't know, because we're not even done with our first wave. So there
Right.
is no second wave. It's just going to be the first wave getting worse. Maybe 2022 to be like fully eradicated, but you're still wearing a mask and being cautious. Who knows? I mean, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Because 2021 is too close. That's like in 4 months, five
Couple
months.
months, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. I I don't know. I think I might have to go with 2022 too. Cause well, one, so I've been keeping track with some of like the I mean, like I like reading medical journals and stuff. Like that's like a thing that I like to do. Yeah. But I've been trying to keep up with like all these companies that are another basically the gold rush too to like basically find a vaccine for this for COVID. And although for like the most part like I was reading Moderna some of their results like preliminary results they've been good, but it's like now we have to have a whole nother conversation or like with that anti-vaxxer movement and also not even that like also like the mistrust of like our communities of color, are people actually going to go out there and get this vaccine once it's here? Like the US is investing like millions, hundreds of thousands of dollars in like all these companies to have these vaccines out as soon as possible, which by the way this would be like the fastest any vaccine in like basically the history of all time that it has been a vaccine basically has been created. And like you expect the already like skeptical community, like not just people of color, literally everybody, like
I
to
wouldn't even get
now
it.
right to now and go get the vaccine. So it's like that's why I just feel like there's no winning with this. Like there's like
Yeah.
so many intersectional, I guess, problems. So it's
It
not
might just
just like
become like just another flu kind of, like, oh, it's
right,
COVID season or whatever. I mean, it sucks because it's still very prevalent even now. So, it's not like the flu where like in the summer it's not really that prevalent, but could just become like, oh, well, you got to be careful.
right,
I don't know, cuz the only way for us to fully like airtight like lock it down is to literally shut down the entire like no interstate traveling, like, which
right.
they're not gonna do. So
Yeah, I said this from the beginning, and I know Tim can like speak for me because my tweets were wild at the beginning of the pandemic, but that was literally what I said. I'm like, we need to basically shut down the US, even if it's
yeah,
for like a month.
4 weeks, 6 weeks, yeah.
Literally, that's all we need. Tell everyone to wear masks if you're gonna go out. Shut down everything that's non-essential. Keep people home. Basically, find people if they're on the streets, like not complying. And we could have eradicated this like literally like 3 months ago.
Hmm.
Like there's no other way unless it's either that or we wait, which is what we're doing now. And I feel like if it didn't happen then when cases and things were a lot more, I guess, I don't know what's the word that I want to use, but more, I guess, intense. Like it's not gonna happen now. I doubt it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like if they would have done that early, they would have got everybody with like the fear factor, and
Right.
everybody would have been like, "All right, cool, fuck it, we're just gonna stay inside. I'm not gonna go
yeah,
outside. I don't want to get fined. If I have to go, I'm just gonna go get food and stuff, get my essentials." But they treated it like it's like, all right, you can go outside, but if you go outside, just make sure you're safe. And it's like,
hmm,
you can't if you're really trying to eradicate something, you can't move like that. Because now, if they were to say that people are gonna really lose their shit, it's like, no, I've already been doing this. Like, because there's people
Right.
who have, there's been
yeah,
people who have taken those like government or municipal orders to stay home and the stay home orders and all that very seriously. So it's like now you're gonna tell them that they can't do anything else, more than what they were already not doing. Like, and you're just gonna get so much pushback that like it's not gonna work. And then on top of that, you would have needed all that unemployment benefits then to
hmm,
because if you're gonna shut everybody down, how they're supposed to survive? A lot of
yeah,
people don't have money, and then anything that they would have had is probably stretched out now. You can't account for almost 8 months of the year of not working. Everybody saves a little bit, but to get to 8 months, like that's not a very
yeah,
normal level of saving. Most people have for 3 months, 4 months,
Exactly.
6 months. Nobody. It's rare to have people to have money to cover themselves for a whole year. Not only just expenses, but food. Just
hmm,
regular necessities. So it's a hard call to tell them to everybody to shut down again. So I don't think that's
Yeah.
even on the table anymore.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Right. But
Yeah.
in wrapping up, what do you think is like the best advice for? I want to say people our age specifically because the people older than us they be wilding, and then the people younger than us probably don't listen to anything we say anyway. So, what do you got for our peers?
So pertaining to COVID,
Yeah, just well, COVID, and then moving forward, past this time, because I mean, if we make it past, God willing, we do, we're gonna have to figure some shit out after, like, you know.
um, so the last time I was on your podcast, well, you and Malk's podcast, I said, so this is such a strange time, and this is never gonna happen in our lifetime. Probably, I mean, I hope I don't have to live through another pandemic, but because I hope this is a 1 in 100 years thing, because I don't want to go through this again. But this is a really weird time. So this is probably the only time, I guess, in all my life or in all our lives, even in our parents' lives, where everything has kind of stopped. And even though we've gone back to some form of like normalcy in some way, whatever this new normal is, I think this is such a good time to just like, I don't like saying focus on yourself, but like more so figure yourself out. So whatever you didn't have time for before, find the time now. Or like new hobbies that you want to explore. I know like lately I've been running a lot. That's something I've always wanted to do. So I have the time now that I'm not spending going out and drinking or traveling. Like now I have the time to like do this. So I think this is a great time to just like figure yourself out, like figure out what you want to do going forward or make plans for the future. Like, oh, okay, well, when this is over, I'm gonna do this, or I'm gonna set this goal because I've been wanting to do this for so long and I haven't done it. I'm gonna do this. So yeah,
That's a
that's
good
my
one.
piece of advice, I guess.
I would just say, I mean, like, be selfish, but be selfless at the same time. So really like consider other people. Don't take things for granted. I feel like a lot of us took so many things for granted. Like just the idea of like walking into a store and like buying groceries and little things like that. Just being a little more mindful.
Right.
And wash your hands. Because people just don't do that apparently.
Oh, one thing I want to add too, just be nice to people. But
Yeah, be courteous.
yeah. So I've noticed that like I don't know, I feel like I guess since I've been so busy like before, I mean, I'm sure you guys are the same way. I literally get up, I go to work, I go to the gym, I come back, I cook dinner, do laundry, go to sleep, repeat. And I feel like I'm just like tune the world out, like just forget about everything. And I feel like I didn't even know what my neighbors look like. Like that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
And like I feel like now since I'm like going for like walks and stuff, I like made it a thing. I'm like, if I see my neighbors, I'm gonna say hi to my neighbors. They
That's
probably
nice.
think I'm weird, but I'm gonna say hi to them. Like I just feel like you don't know what people are going through this time, whether it be financially, emotionally, physically. Like the least thing that you could do is be like that ray of like sunshine, even if it's just saying hi.
Yeah.
So I've made it a point in my life, and I hope other people do too. And like just be nice to people. Like people are going through some shit right now, so that's
Facts,
the
and
least that you can do.
facts, and you don't know what the next person is going through, so that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the same. I'm on the same boat. I've been running. I've been doing like 4 miles here and there.
Thank you,
Um,
Okay.
yeah, facts. Um, I always try to smile at people because I already look threatening with a beard. So if I'm running somewhere, I smile and like give them a nod or something like that.
It's hard with the
Um,
mask though.
and honestly, when I run, I don't even wear a mask. I do like a
Yeah, me either.
bandana, so it's
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
look real crazy, and I like to have a hoodie too. So I just like to make sure that I'm like have a nice look on my face when they look at me. I don't want them to feel threatened.
Listen,
So
man, as long as they could see your cheeks, you're good.
right, and then and then like on top of that, like I've been home. Like I said, I haven't worked since March, and I literally did that. I found things that I used to do that I do again. Like I used to run. I used to do podcasts. I used to play a lot of video games, and I'm back into it, but in a different mode. Like I like to use it for something now. Like for example, bringing you two together. I don't know if you guys would have ever met if this never happened. So it's like I've been a little more creative with everything that I've liked to do, and I'm kind of like fine tuning it to see, what it turns into going forward. But I think everything you said was literally on point, and I can't add anything more to that. So just want to thank you, ladies. I
No
appreciate you both for coming
problem.
Well,
on.
thank you.
Congratulations on everything you've accomplished and everything you will accomplish.
Woohoo.
You guys are like a great representation, and I'm proud to know both of you.
Oh,
Awesome.
All
Thanks,
right, so
Tim.
you're
thank
welcome.
you.
Until next time, everybody. I'll catch you again.
Bye, guys.
Bye.